elections. Speaking during a press conference Wednesday night, the IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati and the CEO Marjan Hussein defended the electoral body, saying everything was above board. The chair tried to alleviate fears of a skewed process, saying that IEBC is independent and not answerable to any individual or authority, but to the Constitution. This morning, we look at that important conversation of the IEBC and the members of the press, as we also get to unpack the numerous public concerns that were addressed yesterday night. Now, later, we get to understand the psychology of our students, especially those in institutions of higher learning, in a bid to address the high cases of mental health disorder. Also, Fitness Thursday will be coming your way, and make sure that you keep it right here. That is towards the last hour of the broadcast. So welcome on board. This is Morning Cafe, and my name is Linda Alela. It's important to have you interact with us. The hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Alela TV47KE. Welcome on board. So much lined up for you, and indeed your feedback is valued. As always, we start off by taking a look at what the papers detail. We have the Standard newspaper as well as the Daily Nation, and later on we'll be getting into looking at what news stories we have, and importantly to the conversation that will be about politics as we now step to the next ones that I have mentioned. So we look at the Daily Nation as well as the Standard newspaper this morning, and so much has been captured as pertaining to politics, as well as the matters education, as well as matters health, and all these are very, very important for us to delve into. So we have the Standard newspaper. And it is interesting that Mike Sonko is now a lucky chap, smiling all the way to the ballot. Perhaps we wait to see this, as of course he was cleared by the courts, an inside deal that brought Sonko back. He was the black sheep, and of course hounded out of office. That is when he was governor for Nairobi. Now former governor Mike Sonko has flown back into the waiting arms of President Uhuru Kenyatta. We all saw him there, showering praises to the president. The head of state is almost exiting, and at some point in time we also remember that they were political foes after that tough moment of impeachment, and now into, of course, this conversation of him joining Azimio courtesy of Wiper Party. Well, and supporting the flag bearer Odinga as well as Karua. What is the bargaining power, or what was the bargain? And of course, will Sonko deliver Mombasa and Nairobi? A story captured on page 6 and 7. It is all about the tough times that he's gone through, and conversations continue to linger as to whether an impeached governor or an impeached leader then should be locked out from going for another political seat. But from what it is that we see, perhaps it will be a different thing, or yet there's so much that needs to be unpacked on the same. And so that is the big story of the day. 25 days to the general election. Kenyans are waiting, are eagerly waiting. We also Sonko supporters celebrating this moment, as well as the likes of Karugu Agadangwa, who were lucky, and Johnson Sakaja, who as well was lucky, being vindicated somehow by the courts, saying that those ones that presented this case really lacked a basis of the argument. And how ICC cases shaped Uhuru's presidency, a story captured on page 12 on this special report, reminding ourselves of how President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy, that is William Ruto, ascended into power at a time when it was pretty much difficult for them dealing with the ICC cases, just how instrumental they were in terms of making these two gentlemen ascend to power. Was it the question of sympathy votes, as well as whether then the axe still lies around? Remember the latest that we've heard as pertaining to the conversations of witnesses and bribery, and Gisheru as well presenting his case, numerous naming of Deputy President William Ruto and other individuals as pertaining to the same. So we still ask whether this is all gone or the cases linger on, and who these cases will go down with. Sri Lanka president now flees, a story captured on page 35. It has been a moment of revolution in this very country, orchestrated by the difficult times, and such is what will always play out when the citizenry kind of feel like they've been disenfranchised, courtesy of the kind of leadership that is in the country. Another fuel crisis looms, a story captured on page 22. It's not been all rosy when it comes to the question of fuel in the country. We understand that the cost of living has shot up. Commodities are extremely expensive, occasioned again by the high prices of fuel, and therefore we await to see what the reports of EPRA then will be dictating, but most importantly, what the government can do to cushion Kenyans amid these tough times. Away from that, those are the big stories. Another one, Kenyatta University land tussle that is still ongoing. They had questions as probe begins. Does the cabinet have power to excise university land? And of course, what is the procedure of doing so? Well, they are among questions surrounding the controversial decision on Kenyatta University land as new council probes former officials, as captured on page 4. We all woke up to this surprise move by KU Vice Chancellor Paul Wainaina, that is the former now, who also decided to exit the stage, citing frustration on these cases of land. And that is a conversation that is still ongoing, and later on alongside the guests we'll get to unpack the details of the same as well. Some of these stories captured on the Standard newspaper, on the Daily Nation, sorry. And let's see what the Daily Nation details this morning. 10 counties to decide the winner. That is the big story. 10 counties that will determine who takes the trophy home on the August 9 election. That is Mombasa County, Tana River County, Nakuru, Trans Nzoia, Bungoma, Vihiga, Narok, Samburu, Marsabit. The ninth one, definitely Nairobi, will take the lion's share, courtesy of the numbers, as of course registered by the IEBC. And I mean, the question of popularity, it's always a game of numbers, and most importantly, just how these individuals are able to appeal to the residents of these special counties. And so as we try to unpack the conversation of 2022 general election, definitely numbers are some of the things that we do not run away from. And so later on, again, alongside my guests, we'll be looking at how instrumental these counties are. And this is according to a poll by Infotrack that indicates Right Honorable Raila Odinga maintains his lead, that is against his main contender, Deputy President William Ruto, a 6-point gap at 43% popularity rating against Ruto's 37% page. Pretty much the same as to what we witnessed with the other polls that were presented to us by Tifa just the other day. Many have castigated the same. They say that the polls really are not, perhaps are doctored. They are not genuine. But then again, well, time is here to tell in this very short time that we have to the general election. And once again, the story of Sonko, man, with 9 lives, true to it. Mike Sonko Mbuvi, the former Nairobi governor who was kicked out of office sometimes in 2020 under a cloud of graft accusation, is handed a lifeline by the courts and could now be the next Mombasa governor. Well, a story captured on page 12. This was on the question of zoning. Remember very well that Mombasa has also tight ones that are down on ground, including that one of Azimio Abdul Swamad, and therefore this could shake that strength that Azimio One Kenya then would enjoy at the level of Mombasa County. But we wait to see how it unravels. And a story captured on page 13 of the Daily Nation. Jubilee scored below average on human rights. New reports by the civil society find that the current administration suppressed fundamental human rights and freedoms in the last 10 years. This we'll be looking at also on this very last days as we take a look at the reign of President Uhuru Kenyatta and how he's handled the activities of the nation. Also in regards to the economic aspect, economic emancipation efforts, as well as how the country has managed in terms of development. They say that the Jubilee Party, much as it has done so much, really has performed averagely. So we'll be looking at that and so much more. Make sure that you keep it right here as we continue with this broadcast. Those are the key stories captured on the papers. Not much happening on the roads this morning. It's pretty much a calm morning. No cold or no rains, which in most cases will actually cause for us to have traffic. But as always, around these areas, as you come from Thika Road down to Pangani, around Pangani area from Muthaiga Square, you'll find that it's a bit clogged up because many vehicles are coming from different quarters, also from these sides of Kiambu Road, getting into the city and such. You would expect some tenets of traffic. So if you're taking Thika Road, really no cause for alarm until you get to that very spot. And the other areas, Kamiti Road, on these sides of the Northern Bypass and Mirema, pretty much of a calm morning on the roads and not much of alarm. And so if you're taking that direction as well, you are assured of getting to your destination on time down to these sides of Runda Juja, and also connecting to the Limuru Road, which comes from these sides of Pangani or these sides of Ngara down to Ruaka and all the way. It doesn't look bad this morning on Limuru Road. This is it, as you can see, and down taking you to Red Hill, which is pretty much of an ease, connecting to Waiyaki Way, which is an ease this morning, and down to the ABC place where you are connected then to James Gishuru, getting you to the areas of Lavington. Pretty much of a is morning this morning on the roads, as well as Ngong Road, not looking so bad. Apart from different tenants around the Junction Mall, you find some bits of traffic that would get you delayed, but not as alarming. Southern Bypass is all clean, as you can evidently tell, and down to the likes of Langata Road. Langata Road as well is clean this morning, down to the Southern Bypass, all clean, and Mombasa Road as well. This is the areas of Nyayo Stadium, and coming from these bits of Imara Daima, there's really no cause for alarm, apart from a certain sport that would get you a bit delayed, but as you can see, it is not so bad. So also those ones that are taking Mombasa Road do not have worries this morning. The Airport Road on this other side, after connecting from the Outer Ring Road, which as well this morning is not looking so bad, down from Thika Road, around the Donholm areas is where you find some tenets of traffic, but it's pretty much easy this morning. And down to the Eastern Bypass, always notorious with traffic. Let's see whether it's different this morning. And yes, the Eastern Bypass is clean, well, cleaner than you definitely expect. So in the event there's anything that happens around you, please make sure to enlighten us so that we all are on a safe grounds. And briefly, let's look at what my team has prepared. Former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko will be on the ballot after the Mombasa High Court directed the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, to clear him to vie for the Mombasa gubernatorial seat. The three-judge bench that was nominated by Chief Justice Martha Koome noted that Governor Mike Sonko has an appeal pending at the Supreme Court and has not exhausted his options for contesting his impeachment. Our Mombasa-based reporter Petronila Goren has that story.
The three-judge bench led by Justice Ol Gasewe, Anne Ongijo and Stephen Githinji on Thursday morning ruled on the petition filed by Mike Sonko, in which IEBC had barred him from contesting for the Mombasa governorship on grounds that he had been impeached. The court, however, has ruled that the decision by IEBC and its Mombasa County returning officer Swalha Yusuf Ibrahim of not clearing Sonko on 7th June contravened the constitution.
An order of certiorari to quash the decision of the first and second respondents disqualifying the petitioner as a candidate for the position of Governor, Mombasa County, in complaint number 127 of 2022.
They further stated that various articles in the Constitution of Kenya had been violated as a result, and that Mike Sonko had a pending appeal at the Supreme Court concerning his impeachment.
A declaration that the first, second respondent and third respondents violated the rights of the petitioner under Articles 20, 27, 38, 2 and 3, 47 as read with 193.3.
The court also ruled that Sonko met all the requirements to be cleared by IEBC to run for the governorship position, and hence directed the county returning officer and IEBC to accept nomination papers of Mike Sonko and his running mate Kisauni Member of Parliament Ali Mbogo.
It was unreasonable for the first, second, third and third respondents to decline the petition and clearance.
Following the judgment, Sonko's supporters expressed their satisfaction with the ruling, citing that justice has prevailed.
Kila mmoja atarisha raba yake. Kila kitongoji lazima kikanyagwe.
Jana tumekata keki kwa kumwombea kwa maombi. Si uchawi ni maombi. Tumefurahi.
However, IEBC through their lawyer Edwin Mukele said they will appeal the decision. Similarly, Sonko's lawyers have filed an application seeking orders to have IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati arrested and committed to civil jail for violation of court orders barring the gazettement of 7 candidates vying for Mombasa governor position. The case will be mentioned on 15th and determined on 18th July. As former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko awaits clearance by IEBC as directed by Mombasa Court, the gubernatorial analysis of Mombasa are expected to change. Petronila Goren for TV47 in Mombasa County.
Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta, Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua are said to have met former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko at State House on Tuesday, where Sonko's political fortunes made a major turnaround. The meeting is said to have prevailed upon the former governor to campaign for Azimio's gubernatorial candidate Polycarp Igathe in exchange for support in Mombasa. Sonko later accompanied the president to Mwiki after the meeting. Apollo Kamau reports.
A state chaired by President Uhuru Kenyatta and attended by Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua saved former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko's political career, with the Nairobi gubernatorial race, his Mombasa gubernatorial ambitions being the main agenda in the meeting. The meeting came just when Sonko's political fortunes appeared to have hit the brick wall, in the backdrop of graft cases in court and integrity questions clouding his political future. The dismal performance of Azimio Nairobi gubernatorial candidate Polycarp Igathe, whose ratings have dropped, prompted the president to use Sonko's political prowess in the city and rally his fanatical support base to back Igathe in the face of a strong competitor, UDA's Johnson Sakaja. It was after the meeting that Sonko joined the president in his Mwiki development tour, where it was clear Sonko was in good political books, having not seen eye to eye with the president since his impeachment.
Sasa mimi kwanza ningependa kushukuru Mheshimiwa Rais wetu Uhuru Kenyatta. Kwa ile muda kidogo nimekuwa nje, nimeona rais amechapa kazi. Huyu ni rais anajali maslahi ya wana Nairobi na Wakenya kwa jumla.
The Tuesday's State House meeting is said to have had huge implications and a complete turnaround for Sonko's fortunes, with Sonko case against IEBC slated for Friday this week, rescheduled to Wednesday, when he was cleared to contest by the High Court in Mombasa, to the excitement of his supporters. After the State House meeting, Sonko was at the Wilson Airport to see off Odinga and Karua, where Odinga is seen welcoming Sonko to the Azimio camp. Muvita MP Abdul Somad Sharif is likely to be a casualty of the new political developments. Sources say he was prevailed to go easy on the campaigns, giving Sonko a free hand in Mombasa. Apol Kamau, TV47.
Thank you, Apollo, for that. Now, Kenya Kwanza running mate and Madeira Member of Parliament Rigathi Gachagua was forced to cut short his campaigns in Meru County after two rival groups clashed. Security officers intervened to ensure his safety. Now, this as Deputy President William Ruto continued with his charm offensive in Western and Nyanza regions, as Paul Kirobi details.
Kenya Kwanza running mate and Mathira MP Rigathi Gachagua was forced to cut short his speech in Meru County after two rival groups clashed, forcing the security officers to evacuate him from the rowdy youth. Trouble started after Gachagua shortly addressed the crowd, forcing him to end the speech prematurely, as Meru Senator Mithika Linturi's effort to calm the residents proved futile. Gachagua, however, moved on with his address, firing salvos at President Uhuru Kenyatta on his action against some individuals implicated in corruption.
Wewe ulikataa kupigana na ufisadi kwa sababu wenye ufisadi Kenya ni watu ya familia yako, na ndio ungechukulia hao hatua. Wale walifanya skando ya Afya House ni dada yako na watu yenu, Rais Kenyatta. That is why you could not take action against them.
Gachagua's sentiments comes hours after the court quashed a case challenging Mike Sonko's gubernatorial bid, directing the IEBC to clear Sonko to vie.
Ati wanasema ati mimi nimekasirika. Sasa nataka niwaambie watu wa kitendawili, nyinyi hamjakasirika, nyinyi mnacheka kwa sababu hamjui shida ya wananchi.
Baada ya kumtesa governor wa Nairobi Sonko, saa hii unatuletea hasira mingi kwa sababu opinion poll ya ukweli inasema William Ruto ndiye anaongoza na over 60%.
Akazunguka Nairobi kidogo, akasema mpigie huyo mzee. Watu wakasema hapana, wewe staafu pole ende nyumbani.
The DP William Ruto completed his 3-day tour in Western region and embarked on his tour of Kisii, Migori and Nyamira counties. The second-in-command DP Ruto appealed to his opponent Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga, asking him to accept defeat in the August polls and stop interfering with the work of IEBC.
Ameanza kusema sijui iko shida register, sijui manual register, sijui IEBC, sijui Chebukati. Mimi namwambia mtu ya kitendawili, wacha kusumbuana na Chebukati.
The DP continued to popularize his bottom-up economic model, urging Kenyans to vote him in the August polls. Paul Kirobi, TV47.
The Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga has urged Kenyans to come out in large numbers and vote in the next general election. Speaking in Kwale County, Odinga warned his supporters against failing to show up on the 9th of August, saying this will give his competitors a leeway. Andrin Kilemi reports.
The Azimio la Umoja Coast Tour entered its second day Wednesday, with the campaign team rallying Kwale County in hunt of votes. The Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga warning his supporters against failing to show up on election day, saying that would give their competitors a direct pass to the highest office.
Imenihuzunisha kabisa kusema je, hawa zangu hawajajua kama naenda vitani. Mbona wanawacha mimi naenda kwa chui peke yangu? Mtakuja.
The Azimio running mate Martha Karua further assuring Kenyans of a better country should Azimio la Umoja form the next government after the August 9 polls, saying Azimio is the only coalition with realistic and people-centered agenda.
Ukipatia mtu kazi, lazima ujiulize rekodi ya huyo mtu inakaa namna gani. Kwa Raila sio kubahatisha.
The UDA presidential candidate William Ruto during the Azimio campaigns further received criticism over his smear campaigns on defense CS Eugene Wamalwa.
Kama nyinyi bado kama iko hapa mtu ama nyinyi bado mnafikiria William Samoei Ruto atakuwa president, mtakuwa nyinyi ni washenzi sana.
Tumejenga msingi, tukatia kuta, tukatia dari, nyumba ishamalizika, bado kuingia ndani mtu anakuambia uache, itawezekana kweli?
And with just 26 days left to the general election, the Azimio la Umoja campaign brigade continues to rally different parts of the country in hunt of votes. Andrin Kilemi, TV47.
President Uhuru Kenyatta continued to drum up support for Azimio One Kenya flag bearer Raila Odinga, urging Kenyans to ensure that he occupies the house on the hill. Addressing Posta and Suguta residents in Laikipia County, the head of state asked them to elect the former premier so that he can continue with the projects initiated by his government. The president, in his tour of Laikipia and Samburu counties, commissioned the construction of the second phase of Rumuruti-Marara Road, which will be constructed at a cost of 70 billion shillings.
Hati miliki kwa sababu hawa watu
baba tosha. Baba ametosha. Wanaamua ya kwamba hiyo safari tutaitembea pamoja. Asante. Asante. Na mimi nikisema kwa huo muda ambaye mmenipatia nimefanya yale ambaye nimeweza. Na mimi sasa nataka kuunga mkono wale watu kama hawa nimewatajia hapa ambao wataweza kuendeleza hii kazi. Si ni kweli? Na mimi nataka niwachie hata hii kiti niko naye. Niwachie huyu mzee anaitwa Raila na yeye pia asukume aendelee naye. Hiyo budget ndio ihakikishe ya kwamba ile barabara ya kutoka Rumuruti kuja mpaka hapa Posta hapa na hii ya kwenda mpaka Marilal iwe standard moja. So mtawaona hapa sasa waongeze nguvu ya hii barabara.
If elections were held today, Azimio One Kenya presidential candidate Raila Odinga will be elected president. That is according to the latest opinion polls by research firm Infotrack. And according to Infotrack, Odinga is commanding a 43 popularity ranking, while Ruto is rated second with 37%. And as Mwangi Maina reports, Raila is popular in 6 regions compared to Ruto, who is popular in 2 regions.
The opinion poll conducted between the 2nd and 7th of this month placed Raila Odinga of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition ahead of his arch-rival Deputy President William Ruto of United Democratic Alliance. Raila leads Ruto with a 43% popularity rating against Ruto's 37%. George Wajakoya of the Roots Party comes in third with a 4% popularity ranking. A considerable 16% of Kenyans are yet to decide whom they will vote in.
This is not a predictive poll. It is not a poll telling us that this is what is going to happen on the 9th of August. It is basically a snapshot of what the situation is in terms of popularity and what people think about the state of the country as at last week between the 2nd and 7th of July. Things can change in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
United Democratic Alliance still remains the most popular party with a popularity ranking of 33%, while ODM trails UDA with a popularity ranking of 31%. Jubilee Party commands a popularity ranking of 4%. Azimio la Umoja still remains the most popular alliance, commanding a popularity ranking of 43% against Kenya Kwanza's 38%. Odinga remains popular in 6 regions, namely Coast, Northeastern, Ukambani, Nyanza, Western and Nairobi. William Ruto, on the other hand, is most popular in Rift Valley and Mount Kenya regions. Raila Odinga has 21 counties which are his strongholds. Against Ruto's 16 counties, 10 counties have been classified as battlegrounds. Among the key issues of concern among Kenyans include the high cost of living, development of transport, infrastructure and roads, unemployment, access to clean water and health care. With exactly 26 days remaining before the August 9th general election, results of opinion polls have continued to cause mixed reactions among the top contenders of the presidential race. InfoTrack research shows that presidential candidates have some work to do to convince the 16% of undecided voters to vote for them. Mwangi Maina, TV47, Nairobi.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has honored his personal assistant and nephew Jomo Geshaga and a number of Kenyans with presidential awards. State House spokesperson Kanze Dena has been awarded the Order of the Burning Spear in recognition of her outstanding and distinguished service to the country. Micah Gongo with the details.
In a Gazette notice dated July 8, 2022, President Uhuru Kenyatta awarded the highest award given to civilians, Chief of the Order of the Golden Heart CGH, to his former Chief of Staff Nzioka Waita and his personal assistant and nephew Jomo Geshaga. The reclusive businessman Paul Ndongo, First Lady Margaret Kenyatta's Chief of Staff Constance Gakonyo, Florence Awori and Kennedy Kehara were also recipients of the CGH. The head of state fated State House spokesperson Kanze Dena, Justices Isaac Lenaola and Daniel Musinga, and Registrar of Political Parties Anne Derito, with the Chief of the Order of the Burning Spear CBS. The Chief of the Order of the Burning Spear is the second highest honor after the Moran of the Order of Golden Heart MGH. Others are Laibota Imana, Kenya's first blind judge who was conferred with the Elder of the Order of Burning Spear, as well as a political analyst Mutahi Nkunyi, who has been working at State House as a political advisor, and KICC Managing Director Nana Geshaga. Media Council of Kenya Chief Executive Officer David Omoyo is among 101 individuals who are conferred with the Moran of the Order of the Burning Spear MPS, alongside obstetrician and gynecology specialist Dr. Francis Kagema and journalist John Kamau. Notable names among 156 individuals conferred with the Order of the Grand Warrior of Kenya include Secretary General of the Kenya National Private Security Workers Union Isaac Antabwa. Some 180 civilians were also awarded Head of State's commendation, while 24 officers received the same honor under the military division. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Away from politics, just a day after Kenyatta University Vice-Chancellor Professor Paul Wainaina resigned following a 410-acre land dispute that is between the university and the state, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has supported President Kenyatta's move, that is to seize the land for the construction of World Health Organization Emergency Hub, terming it as a state property. And as Elizabeth Atieno now reports, student leaders from the university held demonstrations Wednesday in protest over the sacking of the VC and the installation of the new University Council.
Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has supported President Kenyatta's move to seize 410 acres piece of land for the construction of the 600 million WHO emergency hub at the Kenyatta University Referral Hospital, arguing that all land belongs to the state.
Government owns everything, including the land that I'm standing on. So if by the wisdom of the government is headed by His Excellency the President. He works with the cabinet ministers, including His Excellency the Deputy President. When government pronounces itself in a manner that you feel is repugnant to you as a person, the most honorable thing is to walk away, isn't it?
Magoha's statement has caused rage among the Kenyatta University Students' Fraternity, who today held protests calling for the reinstatement of their Vice-Chancellor Professor Paul Wainaina and the dissolved University Council, further arguing that the new emergency hub will not benefit them in any way.
That means they want to suspend the Vice-Chancellor for 30 days so that the process of land grabbing will have succeeded.
If we have not benefited from a project, a small SKU referral, how will we benefit from WHO?
This 1,000-acre piece of land is the genesis of the ongoing land row between the Kenyatta University and Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital that has since thrown the state of education at the Kenyatta University in a state of limbo, a situation that has elicited mixed reactions from a section of lawmakers and politicians.
And we wish to confirm to the country that the Law Society has already instructed an advocate to file a case at the Land and Environment Court to stay those illegal directives.
Huyu profesa hakuna makosa amefanya. Huyu profesa amekataa kitu inaitwa impunity. Amesema sheria ifuatwe. Huwezi chukua shamba ya university bila kufuata due process.
The university now has a new council in place, which the students fear will give in to the pressure to surrender the 410-acre piece of land as demanded by the state. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
Residents in Nakuru County are living in fear following the killing of two people in two separate murders. That is Wednesday morning. In the first case, a young woman was beheaded with another man killed by strangulation. And as our very own Chichi Josephine reports, the woman is said to have been raped and the man sodomized before they were killed under the cover of darkness between Tuesday evening and Wednesday morning.
The body of an identified woman was discovered in one of the sand mines in the area early Wednesday morning. It is suspected the woman was murdered elsewhere and the body dumped in the area, according to the Nakuru County Police Commander Peter Mwanzo.
There was a body of a girl, terribly, that the head had been removed. So the identity of the girl is not yet known, is not yet established. The blood for the girl is a bit fresh. That could have happened elsewhere and maybe dumped.
Hiyo ni kitu ambayo imetupiga bustuko sana kwa sababu tunaona kama watoto wetu wanaenda baka kwa hiyo hali wanachinjwa kinyama. Hata sisi tumesikia vibaya.
Less than a kilometer away, school-going children stumbled on the body of a male adult that had been dumped by the roadside next to an expansive maize farm.
Nilipata tu habari asubuhi. Nikaambiwa mtoto wako, kijana wako amepatikana pale, ameolewa. Sasa wakati nilikuja hapa nikakuta kweli ni wao. Kuna
vikundi mengi ambayo imejitokeza ambaye hizo mavikundi mengine wanajiita confirm, ingine ni Nyuki Squad. Hawa ndo pengine labda wameingilia hiyo kikosi, labda wameweza kufanya kitendo ambayo pengine wao mandugu amepoteza maisha.
Residents are now calling on the government to improve lighting and set up a police post in the area to tame the runaway insecurity in the area.
Sasa ningeomba tu sana kama serikali atusaidie sisi vijana. Hii maneno ya mambo na confirm hizi na I think hizo hakuna kitu kingine. Juu imetuletea issue mingi sana hapa. Hatuwezi kaa na amani.
Unyenyekevu nilikuwa naomba serikali at least kama watatuwekea police station kidogo kwa hiyo center, at least itatusaidia kwa kuzuia mambo kama hayo.
Investigations into the two incidents had been launched as it is suspected that the murders may have been carried out by the same suspects, as Mwanzo assured residents that they will soon bring their assailants to book.
We are looking at it as an independent incident, and that's how we're going to investigate these independent incidents. Crime management is about prevention, control, and also reaction. So we know knives, machetes, guns, all these are weapons of terror. And anyone carrying a weapon in Nakuru is a terrorist. And we're going to declare a terrorist. We're not going to allow any further atrocity to the people of Nakuru. It's as simple as that.
Chichi Josephine, TV 47.
Now, 9 students from Mount Kenya University and the University of Nairobi under the program Our Rights, Our Lives and Our Future O3+ are set to climb to the peak of Mount Kenya. The climbing of the mountain, which was flagged off Wednesday, they say is a symbol of challenges faced by young people. Thus the need to overcome them by raising awareness on health and well-being of the youth. The O3+ program is aimed at ensuring young people in higher and tertiary institutions in Eastern and Southern Africa realize positive health, gender equality outcomes through sustained reductions in new HIV infections, unattended pregnancy, and gender-based violence.
At MKU, listening to the students talk about the O3+ activities makes one realize the deep level of engagement, broad engagement, and the learning that our students are going through courtesy of the O3+ project.
And building a team like yourselves who are ready to engage in such a physical activity that will help you to reflect on our environment, will help you to reflect on your physical health, and why we should protect our planet and why we should protect our bodies.
The O3+ objectives are contributing to the global AIDS strategy, again linking to the 395 and the 1010. So I congratulate you, and I want you all to be the champions of these targets and to take this challenge along with you as you climb Mount Kenya.
The climb of the peak of the majestic Mount Kenya, which is inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is particularly significant as we celebrate this year the 50th anniversary of the UNESCO World Heritage Convention concerning the protection of world cultural and natural heritage.
All right, and yes, away from that very story, it is now time that we usher in the conversation, and it is a conversation of matters politics revolve around Sonko's, release, or Sonko's lifeline. Most importantly, President Uhuru Kenyatta, his reign, what he leaves behind, and what really he has managed to do for the people of Kenya. But most importantly, his involvement in the talks of politics today as well. We just take a look of a recap of what it is that IEBC had to say yesterday as pertaining to how well prepared they are in terms of handling the general election. And I mean, so much so, also looking at the polls, many have faulted polls to be those ones that are, probably set, that these institutions are paid to come up with such polls, that sometimes there's no scientific proof as to the numbers that these polls present to us. But we wait to see what the gentleman that I'll be having on set this morning will have to say upon the same. So we welcome your feedback. The hashtag is MorningCafe at Linda_Lela TV47KE across all our social media platforms. 22047 is the SMS short code. I sample your comments as we continue with the broadcast as well. You can call us live. The numbers will be running down on your screen for the same. Dennis Nthumbi, governance expert, is joining us this morning. He's already on set, as well as Kevin Osido, who's as well governance governance expert, and also the chair of Pan-African Forum, that is Dr. David Nyekorach Matsanga, will be with us this morning as we unpack this situation in the country. But above everything, also the stalemate that lies therein in the education sector, and also this big one of Kenyatta University. I mean, what really could be culminating on this very point to an extent of getting the former Vice Chancellor now exiting the stage. So karibu sana. Please purpose to be part of the conversation. Gentlemen, thank you so much for creating time. It's an honor to have you this morning as we get to this able conversation. Dr. Matsanga, you well?
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to say for almost 4 years, I've not seen this young man here. Yes, I left him and I taught him how to be strong. And when I see him in another version, unfortunately, very yellow shirt, which I oppose in my own country, I say, okay, the son has gone, but one day I'll bring him back.
Are you going to go back, Dennis?
Yes, I don't know how my grandchildren are now, but I thank you very much for bringing me together with him. Yes.
All right, so Dennis, you will be going back home. Or freedom is coming? Which is which?
We are pursuing freedom.
And you are certain to get that?
We are pursuing freedom.
Okay, well, fair enough.
And freedom is coming.
It is? Okay, let's wait and see.
It has already arrived with liberators like us. And you know, my brother there is a liberator. I don't know how he ended up going with Mafikizolo. You know Mafikizolo, he knows. Mafikizolo are the civilians.
Okay.
So let's move to the issues.
We will definitely get to that. Kevin Osido, well, while we would want to run away from that, reality is that somehow they speak of what the situation is in the country, and such is the game of politics. You'll expect that, jibes, barbs will be thrown your direction, and therefore how you handle them is what it is that is important. The question of sobriety, it's fine.
It's important to say that we're all friends and we're all family.
Yes, that's for sure.
Daktari, we have articulated and pursued many things on security within the African continent. It's very important to know that even though there's a difference in terms of where somebody will be, it's important to know that we collaborate in several other aspects. And therefore, we're not enemies. And thoughts and sometimes the disposition shouldn't weaponize Kenyans to think that they should war against each other. It's important to disagree. But most importantly, it's important to coexist.
Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough. And I think I'll loop in Kevin Osido on that very point. I wanted to ask him something about his I don't want to say his boss, because then he likes his preferred who now. He likes President Uhuru Kenyatta. He says where the president says is where it is that we'll go. But before we get to that, Dennis brings on board a very important matter, that peace above everything, that we should realize that even as politicians they are friends. They will have sessions together, they will take coffee together, they'll take tea together. But such is not what we've been witnessing with the people down on ground. And especially when you look at scenarios where someone like, Rigathi Gachagua would go out there campaigning, and then he is supposed to, or he's forced to call this off because of some essence or some pockets of intolerance. What do you make of that? As a person who's been keen on what the ground looks like in your activities of governance watch, do you suppose that the electorate is enlightened to a level where really intolerance is going to be a game of the past, that they are going to embrace that aspect of peace?
Linda, thank you so much for this opportunity. 25 days to the election. The electorate is extremely tolerant. The people know what is expected of them. There's been a lot of conversation around peace and electoral justice. A lot of investments has been made in ensuring that there is life after 9th of August. Of course, there are few elements here and there, particularly those who are radical politicians, who probably do not resonate with the kind of past that Kenyans have had to go through, particularly in relation to elections. The kind of the number of lives that have been lost in the past elections, and indeed there is no need why any Kenyan should die because of elections. And that is where you see a lot of police engagement, and you see a lot of police rebuttal. there is no reason whatsoever why people should forget about their neighbors in terms of living in peace, harmony, just because of elections. And you also realize that ahead of these elections, about 3 years, NCIC gave us a number of hotspot counties. And Linda, a lot of work has been going on and continues to go on, particularly with regards to ensuring that those hotspot elements are dealt with, and that citizens, the politicians, the security apparatus are able to speak to each other. In fact, there is all the 47 counties have what is called the multi-sectoral forum on electoral preparedness, which is co-chaired by the county commissioners. And why these forums are happening is because it's so that citizens can be able to have an opportunity to ventilate. So in the various spots where we see a number of conflicts still erupting, it's purely based on the kind of mobilization that is happening. And so in my view, the buck really stops at the politicians, particularly those who mobilize, because we all agree that all these rallies are organized, they are mobilized, they are planned. Everything you see happening in those political rallies are planned to go the way they are planned, including those who are throwing stones.
Right.
There's a young man somewhere waiting for whoever was assigned to throw the first stone. Those stones don't just show up. And so it is important, therefore, that Kenyans know that this election is our election, in form of Kenyans' election. There is no reason whatsoever why we should be able to be creating chaos, because remember that there are many election offenses. One of them is disrupting an opponent's or another person's rally. If you don't like what they're saying, what business do you have to go there? And so I want to appeal to the security apparatus to pull up their tendons from all the corners, to be able to at least prosecute one politician. Linda, unfortunately, we have not successfully had any successful prosecutions of any good politicians that are either spewing hate speech or mobilizing young people to be able to create chaos. It's quite unfortunate that the running mate to Mheshimiwa Ruto felt what he felt in Meru. Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga went some months ago, or weeks ago, to one of the areas in Rift Valley. He faced a similar thing. Mheshimiwa William Ruto has been to Nyanza and he's faced some of these kind of elements. We must see successful prosecutions, at least to act as a deterrent towards those who are mobilizing. Then lastly, of course, all of us here, there's a place we meet somewhere in Kilimani, just across the hill here. Whether we fight here, whether we abuse each other, whether he says all those nasty things he says about me, at the end of the day,
please do not get violent.
Before the day ends, Linda, all these
friends.
people on TV, all these analysts, all these people who write interesting things on newspapers, they meet, we have coffee, we have lunch, we buy each other, we pay each other's bills.
All right, fair enough. And I hope that
Kenya after 9th of August.
Indeed, there is Kenya after 9th of August. That is what we look forward to. A peaceful Kenya, for that matter. You should not get violent, yeah?
No.
You are protected, you can be rest assured.
I think it's important to know that you cannot enforce peace, you enforce the social order. Peace is an environment that citizens collectively decide to, it's the coexistence is good. It doesn't matter whether you're Luhya or you're Luo or you're Kalenjin. There's no hunger that is Kalenjin. There's no hunger that is Luo. So it's absolutely important that we understand that we need to pursue a coexistence that supports life and that supports prosperity.
Dr. Matsanga, on a very professional and perhaps large understanding of the question of peace, what do you suppose Kenyans should constantly be reminded that, in as much as Dennis would argue that peace is that aspect of coexistence, and what we can enforce is social order, Kenyans should be reminded of nitty-gritty details that could be instrumental towards them embracing this aspect of peace. Like, for instance, we all know that we're not immune to this, but we all cross fingers that things are well. We all did not envision what played out in 2007, 2008. But then again, it happened. We picked lessons, and we hope that the lessons we can embrace in totality.
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues on the question of social order and the peace. What comes first? Before you come to social order, you must be peaceful. You can't come to a social order without peace in your heart, without knowing that if you go out, the days that we grew up, if you come with a pencil from school, which is not yours, your father will ask you, or your mother will ask you, where did you get this pencil? Believe me or not, whether it is raining, you will be told to walk back to the school and drop that pencil to the headmaster or the gate man who is waiting. If there's another teacher there, they will leave that this man came with a pencil which is not his, or a pen which is not his, or a handkerchief, or whatever. But we leave our houses without social order. The social order is already damaged, without peace. So when we arrive in the social order, which my friend Nthumbi, I don't know why that name always, the younger man always comes in my, because he's a very good young man who went astray also. Okay. But Nthumbi, my friend, Dennis, the man on the other side, is right to say the social order must be there. In Kenya, we don't have both. Some few people have both. Very few people have both. And let's agree. That's why, if you had to tell me, we have been with my dear brother at the end there, we have been talking about a redemption strategy. In fact, he was one of those emphasizing a redemption strategy. Where is it? It is gone. Up to today, some people have not healed from the past. They are still talking about, you can see Osido is talking about 2007. He has not healed. Because there are some things he's thinking about what happened in 2007. We need a country that has healed, a healing country, an accounting country, accountability, restitution. People are not restituted, and don't tell me there will be social order. People have not been restituted, reparated. There are people in IDP camps today. Whether you are in ODM, whether you are in UDA, I am not bothered. It's your problem. But there must be a reparation. There must be a restitution. There are people in Nakuru who are still saying we might not even come to vote because we have nothing to come to vote for. So let's have those 5 tenets. 1, accountability. 2, restitution. 3, reparation. 4, truth-telling. And 5, reconciliation. Right. It leads us to healing. That's the healing process. Kenya and Africa, not only Kenya. You would agree, all of us here, this healing is not there. Well, we still think of so and so did this to me. Let's see. So and so, you see, we still have the same language. It's not ODM, it is not UDA. The language is in both places.
Well, we keep hope alive.
Yes, we have very bad language in both places.
And true to it, because when you say that...
Can I come with a point of yesterday?
Yes, briefly.
And then the point of all these places where violence stones have come. If you go there, you are insulting their people, and you are in their territory. This is a very dangerous moment now, 25 days. You don't go to Mount Kenya and start insulting Uhuru Kenyatta. You don't go to Rift Valley and start insulting William Ruto.
Do we project on this, utterances of these leaders at the level of the
yes.
Very, very
Some
important.
of the leaders have very bad utterances.
Linda,
Dr. Matsanga, let's allow the other gentleman to come.
One of the things that you may not know about me is that I'm a security expert.
Yes.
And I've operated in nations that social order has been lifted. And what social order is a shared contract that prescribes certain laws and says that these laws must abide within a standard system, a certain standard, a value system, and norms that are maintained. So, for example, in this studio, there's certain things that you cannot do, and that's a shared contract. Right. Within our constitution, every chapter prescribes that social order. You understand? And for as long as that social order is violated, then peace is suspended. And there are two types of peace. There's the internal peace and there's external peace. The external peace is by ethics. We agree that there's a way that we live as Kenyans.
Yeah.
And there's a way that we conduct our businesses. There are spaces that we respect. There are elders that we respect. We respect our women. We respect our mothers. We respect pregnant ladies. We respect those ones who are struggling with various parts of their body. That would be PWDs and whatever it is that there is. So one of the things that has constantly been violated within this nation is that shared contract. Is the fact that a social class emerged that elevated itself above everybody else and thought that that status is more privileged than every other Kenyan. You understand?
Okay.
And so that social contract was violated from time to time. And even though we prescribe peace into the nation, one of the things that violates peace is justice. You understand? So, and that's the reason why we talk about historical injustices.
Yeah.
So historical injustices violate that social order, that shared contract. They consistently upset it. And that's the reason why you'll see that the electorate, there's something today we are calling voter volatility. There's something that we are calling apathy. One of the biggest issues that would injure that shared contract is poverty. Because poverty is induced. Poverty is something that is introduced. It's a level of violence that it takes a very long time for people to recover. In fact, there are two things that I've seen in nations that have always injured peace. Is poverty introduced through means of inflation and means of market democracy suspension and war.
As a security expert, is that a polite way of telling us that we have a long way to go until we speak of, guaranteed peace? I
don't believe that. I think in Kenya there's democracy on paper, but in practice there isn't. We have a form of kleptocracy, plutocracy, including necrocracy, rule by the dead. There are many forms of governments in the country. And we are still yet to realize democracy.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why when I look at my brother Osido here, who belongs to my generation, I keep on saying we have to move to the space of ideas. We have to move into a space that respects. And I know that my brother there, we have spoken many times about the peace in Africa. And therefore, we have to collectively advance into that space that honors and respects democracy. I believe that democracy is progressive. And I appreciate nations that advance democracy. You see that in 5 years, there has been an increase in 30%.
Okay.
I'm a special appointee to the UN and to the Africa Union. And the last 40th and 35th ordinary sessions of both the executive committees and the heads of state, one of the things that we realize is that there is a very strong regression of democracy in Africa. Extremely strong.
Okay.
There's a regression from almost about 70% all the way down to 25%.
Wow.
So when you look at the democratic nations in Africa, it's very hard to point one, sincerely speaking. And so you must ask yourself, many years, the post-independent Africa is not independent. Why is that so?
The quest for democracy is still not so clear.
Why are we unable to rule ourselves freely and afford every man and woman in our countries that kind of socioeconomic freedom? Africa is not poor. Africa is overexploited. Just like Kenyans. Kenyans are not poor. Kenyans are overexploited because we have a nation that enjoys sovereign wealth.
Right.
The nation is so rich, the earth is so rich, you understand? Then you will wonder yourself, why are you and I unable to access that wealth of our nation?
And
we have to labor worse than donkeys in this country to be able even to drive us the smallest car that there is in the land.
Well articulated, Dennis, and we have to acknowledge that, yes, Africa is a continent that is rich of resources. Perhaps most of the resources that are used in making sure that the bigger brothers then are enjoying what it is that they enjoy. We have to take a short break.
Gold in rivers.
I mean, we've been asking, even with the question of oil, black gold, or better yet, what it is.
Turkana, do we know where the oil is going today?
Now that's the question. After this short break.
Kevin Osido.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
Well, do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The next set of millionaires are farmers, as we know agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
Hapa, the reason why nilieka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the field.
The greenhouse helps us control the temperature because the temperature needs to be between 28 to 32 degrees.
Walk this journey with us every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. It's no secret, construction ain't cheap. But how do we make it affordable? Different individuals are finding ways of cutting down cost by use of pre-stressed slabs other than reinforced concrete, recycling plastics to make pavers.
The brick is stronger, it's cheaper, and it's lighter.
And recycling wastewater in your household.
What happens to my waste from the washroom, the solid waste? All that can break down.
Those are just but a few. Every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. we talk construction.
There's no alpha without an omega. There's no lead without any followers. No man is an island. We need each other. We need this conference.
We say it, we do it, we act it.
Kama una mpenzi wako, kila siku kama nilivyosema, kila siku mwishi mapenzi.
We don't toe the line, we set the standard.
They were broadly called Agenda 4 issues. And successive governments were tasked with the responsibility of breaking down these particular 4 broader issues into low-lying fruits for the common citizens. And some of it also included even job opportunities for young people. Some of it included immediate repatriation elements for internally displaced persons, including families. These successive governments have not been very successful in terms of ensuring that Kenyans actually are led towards a path of healing. Some of the broader issues, even including the electoral preparedness, where we were even told you cannot make laws within 2 years into an election, and what we needed to do to be able to make the election fair, free, accountable, transparent, and just.
Yeah.
I think would therefore be doing an injustice to Kenyans to talk to them about peace and justice today, particularly related to poverty, because we have been here and elections should not be the only reason why we now begin to talk about peace. People need internal peace, they need external peace, they need peace within the environments, which is what I think we are calling social order. And once that has been done, there has also be safe spaces for people to be able to speak, so that when I feel my mental echelons are having, you know, I have mental health issues, where do I walk to? And I get somebody who can be able to listen to me without necessarily judging me. That does not need an election. But why this conversation is being tied into an election process is because people believe that when governments are in place and you have a safe haven, a safe space in terms of your own being in power at whatever level, whether it is a head teacher, whether it is a MCA, whether it is a women rep, the governor, or even the presidential level, that you'll be able to guarantee a safe haven to be able to be yourself without necessarily being feeling pushed by anyone to act in whatever way. So, for example, the kind of discomfort and unrest that we see in political rallies is some discomfort that is being induced. There is either somebody saying something or somebody making the young person behave in a particular manner, that when he or she says this, or they don't invite your person to come and speak, you throw a stone, then you disrupt that rally, you know. And it's based on comfort, that if Linda Lena, who is my candidate, speaks, that is when I will feel comfortable. And you have seen people even urging, you know, leaders to allow their own supporters and their own people to ask them to speak. For example, in Nairobi, one of those common names would be Babu. If you have a rally where Babu is absent, if I could use him as an example, young men out there will be saying, "Pay Babu speaker, Babu aonge." And even in between that political rally, even if Babu says "Tialala," people will be so pacified and they feel like my candidate or my person has spoken. That is inner peace. And it's because there are certain things that they feel that individual leader therefore ascribes. So when it comes to government, governments must therefore make deliberate efforts, Linda, to deal with the discomfortable elements. And some of these issues really, youth involvement, youth employment, youth engagement aspects. You go to Mama Mbogas out there, they just want a proper environment to do their business. Licenses, that the licenses are easy to come by, and that the environment within which the licenses are also being given is not one where you feel pushed. You know, you pay heavy taxes, but the roads are so bad, there is no market for your goods. There are short and long-term elements, therefore, towards both peace and justice, because we just can't tell Kenyans that there is no justice because you have the wrong person in government. What is the space of the opposition, even for those who are in government and those who are not in government? So in my view, it is a wholesome mechanism, and peace and justice has to be seen to be a wholesome, holistic mechanism to ensure that even the least poor or even the least powerful have an opportunity where they feel accepted, they feel appreciated, and they feel part and parcel of the decision-making processes. If you give everybody money today, even in their pockets, Linda, there are those who will still not be comfortable. They will still say, what I have is not enough. They will come for what you have. And that will create
I
an
agree. And
opportunity
we have to sum it up on this
peace.
one. But perhaps we do not fall short of, examples to see, lessons to pick from, especially when you look at the papers, you look at the stories that are making headlines across the global fraternity. First, of course, on this, the Standard newspaper, page 35, is that conversation of Sri Lanka and, and this crisis that, sits in that very country, that the president, Gotabaya, has decided to flee from this particular country, and such is always the case. And I mean, the key things that brought this country to the level is, or the level that it is in, are some of the problems that bedevil us, including that question of, dynasties and all that. They speak of political dynasties, those ones that have been power for a long time. And such are the conversations that we have around in the country, Dr. Matsanga. Sum it up in 1 minute.
Linda, Sri Lanka did not heal. It didn't heal.
Yeah.
And the key word here, whether Dennis goes to Angel Gabriel, he's an Anglican like me, and comes back, the key word is healing. Rwanda today is doing, you look at Rwanda, it came from a very bad background.
Yeah.
But everybody today, if you tell him the plane is here now, choose where to go in East Africa. A Mzungu coming from Europe, he says, I'm going to Kigali. Why? What Dennis is talking about, there is social order. Why? People have healed.
Have they?
Yeah,
Because when you speak about Rwanda,
wait.
one of the stories that we have today is on the question of genocide survivors. Yes.
Even in the church where I and Dennis go, or Sapiti, where does he stand to preach? Where does or Sapiti, who is our archbishop, stands where with us? The bishops who are preaching to us here today in Kenya. If you go out and see the cars they drive after you have left the church, you will not tell me there is no class struggle. Class struggle started a long time ago. From time of Jesus at the port of Capernaum, when he gave people food, 5,000 people at Galilee, or Sea of Galilee. If you have gone, Dennis has been to Haifa. Israel.
You speak for him. I hope he
yes,
is
yes.
right, but no dispute. So I would
my
want
friend,
to
he trained in Israel. That guy you see there, I know him. He's my soldier. He's my soldier. I'm telling you, I know him. He's a young man. It's my soldier. He has been to Israel, Haifa. Jesus, the class struggle started in Haifa. The people who came on canoe from Sea of Galilee across, they found Jesus had gone ahead already. They did not see Jesus, but they found food there, which had been magnified and started eating. Go and ask any bishop to tell you whether Jesus was present when the rest of the people were eating. Class struggle is everywhere. Don't come here and say, you know where Dennis is going? It's a slippery slope. He's trying to bring in something. He's a technical guy on all these matters of security, and he's bringing in something that there is a class struggle here that has eaten too much and others have not. Even if you bring the two candidates today, the one is giving social...
The two main.
The two main. The one is giving social order. That is the 6,000 shillings per vulnerable family. The other one is saying, I will give money from the bottom up. Even if you give all of them, do that, there will still be a problem.
Okay.
Because people first have to begin by healing. Gachacha courts in Rwanda healed some people. I'm not saying 100% are healed.
Yes.
But people came back to reality. He said, you killed my father. But it's all right. I came and said, thank you very much. I'm sorry. I hacked your father to death. They are staying together. You don't find this man going to kill the other one at night.
Yes.
That's why Rwanda has moved on. Kenya, if it doesn't move on, that's what Kevin is saying. And that's what exactly Dennis is coming to. If we don't come back and say, enough is enough. Sri Lanka you are talking about, Tamil rebels, Tiger rebels, they never came back to heal the country. They went for political power. South Sudan, we can even give 200 vice presidents in South Sudan and make 200 vice presidents. I swear. The following morning, there will be one vice president who is going to come. Can I tell you the secret? Agenda number 4. I'm a peacemaker, a mediator. If you don't do accountability in peace process,
you lost it.
There are 5 agendas all the time in peace process mediation. The last one is what Kofi Annan the late told you. And in Kenya you missed. I'm sorry. Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga and the rest and Dr. William Ruto. You missed.
Let's talk about President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Stage.
Let's talk about President Uhuru Kenyatta and the fact that in some few days he'll be out of office and won't be the head of state anymore, as we all hope for a peaceful transition, a peaceful process. Well, there's a story that has been captured on page 12 on a special report, the Standard newspaper, speaking of how ICC cases shaped Uhuru's presidency. We do not want to delve much into that question of peace, but we all understand and are privy to the information of what really played out. But then again, he's out there again campaigning. Dennis Nthumbi, what is happening? President Uhuru Kenyatta should have at least stuck to his words and maybe say that, well, he will steer clear from the campaigns that we see today. Those ones campaigns really is he's Kenyan before he is president, and therefore is he in order to go out there and speak hugely of how he supports the Right Honourable Raila Odinga, looking at how it disgruntles, a quarter of the masses, which again could trigger some level of animosity.
Wow, many times I struggle with some of my professions. And as an ordained reverend, as a security person, as a governance expert, my disposition pushes me mainly to matters of national security. And I know how fragile the country is. I know the progression of democracy in this country. I have seen wars, just sprouting nations just within a day, and people lost complete control. And therefore, when I speak of these matters, I'm not talking politics. I started talking about these things way before I was in Kenya Kwanza or many other things. And some of our colleagues in politics may not know this and may push very dangerous battles. For me, I respect the president's choice, personal choice, on the fact that he has picked Raila Odinga. One of the places I disagree with him is the fact that he hasn't taken note of the need for him to be politically neutral. Political neutrality is the first principle in public service, especially when you're a president. A father is also a human. But when the scarcity of food that is likely to break your home is there in the house, the kids will eat fast. It doesn't mean that the human nature has been looked down upon. It's just a matter of priorities. In a country where there's a regression in terms of democracy, a country where has been really hit by critical aspects of the pandemic, where social welfare is non-existent, where social security is not a doctrine that has been advanced, where the cost of living is so high, you understand? There are many things as this nation that we ought to get right. When you look at the chronology that we have moved from, the TGRC, Kligra report, Dongoland report, many of those things that today have helped us in terms of law reforms within many of those areas. And when you look at the Constitution 2010, there's an inclusion of some of those commissions. We are still trying to understand the concept of peace. We are still trying to understand the concept of social order. We are still trying to understand this thing of equity. There's a discussion that has come up called bottom-up. The fact that, wait a minute, there are so many Kenyans who are unable to access our wealth. So can we be able to pump 500 billion to the bottom? My request to the president, for the sake of national peace, and sincerely, if there's no peace in this country, he stands as the most to lose, is that he needs to apply himself to political neutrality and see how to support his candidate without injuring the aspect of national unity. And all of us have said that, we respect your choice. But where the button you're pushing is, American presidents carry around a bag for nuclear warfare. And they can push it any time.
Yeah.
I think there is need for him to sort of regulate just a bit, just a little bit. You understand? And if he's confident that Azimio can win this election and Kenya Kwanza is confident, let democracy take its course. Let Kenyans decide. But he sits in one of the most integral seats in the country. And that seat has been the reason for war in the country, has been the reason for the poverty in the country, has been the reason for state capture in the country. Most of the corruption indexes point at the presidency. When you look at the issues within Kenyatta 1, when you look at the issues within Moi, we're talking about Golden Bag. The Golden Bag issue followed Kibaki. When you're looking at Kenyatta, you have Eurobond 1, Eurobond 2, you have KEMSA, you understand? Most of these issues have emanated from the presidency. And therefore, and including a civil war in the country, have you ever had people fighting because of an MP or an MCA? It's in there.
Yeah.
So the president sits within a point of pain. When you look at most of the advances within our Constitution 2010, the thing that Kenyans got rid of, by the way, where power was disintegrated or where power was devolved, was from the presidency. Kenyans hated an imperial president, a president who is overbearing, a president who is uncontrollable at the end of the day. And I said yesterday I was somewhere, is that even though Moi had his issues, he managed to control himself at a certain point. I was in Uhuru Park when Moi was giving away power. And one of the things that pained me was the amount of disrespect that Moi got. Because I was just right there. People were banging his car and insulting him. And I said, God help us that we may be able to respect this man, even though there were issues there. So the president needs to control himself as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces.
All right.
Because if his anger goes overboard, this country will not be there anymore.
All right, Kevin Osido, you must be knowing what I'm about to ask, and maybe I should say that, his involvement, his endorsement of Right Honorable Raila Odinga might not cause much of, intolerance, animosity, but certainly displeasure in some quarters. And while we understand very well his role as a president in the Constitution, we do not understand whether it is clear-cut that really then he has to steer clear from the question of politics. And when we point fingers and perhaps question his involvement at this level, are we overlooking what it is again that former president and that is retired president and the late Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi did in endorsing him? Because clearly at that point, he was exiting the stage and he was very clear that this is the man that would want to take the helm. How different is it with the situation then? And why is it that then people would view this one of President Uhuru Kenyatta with lenses that appear to criminalize him?
Linda, from where I am seated, I honestly see no problem in President Uhuru Kenyatta having an apparent heir that he feels confident that he's supposed to take after him. And that is one based on what you have said, in the sense that it's not probably the first time we are seeing an incumbent or an outgoing president showing personal pleasure and personal, what I would call selfish interest or personal interest, to be able to get very public about what kind of apparent heir is supposed to have. The only issue I probably have is the manner of transition that we are looking forward to. I remember that even as I say this, I am saying it very carefully, because even for an outgoing president, it is not your business to oversee your transition. And that is why our Constitution of Kenya 2010 has put in place, out of very good lessons again, Linda, what is called the Committee on Assumption of Office, which is supposed to therefore take care of the manner of transition that happens. Many weeks ago, I told you here, when people said that the president will not be seen on the campaign trails, and I told you that time is coming. Linda, this is the time. It is crunch time, and the president, being one, that politician, and then two, a very deeply vested and interested individual in this election, will not sit back. Remember that even as he is an outgoing president, he still enjoys certain statecraft and things which come with the presidency. And one of those things, of course, will be to ensure that his legacy is solid. And that is what President Uhuru Kenyatta is trying to do. Remember that even as he's going out there talking to people, he is not just going to mobilize crowds and is prepared there and is standing and speaking. The president is engaging in his responsibility, where, for example, we are seeing him issuing title deeds, he's opening up hospitals. I also told you that the president's legacy is a delayed legacy, because for more than 4 years, the president has been very heavily distracted and detracted. That then many things he's doing right now should have been done more than 100 days into his handing over power. But unfortunately, the president is the same person that had to come out and try and craft something called the handshake, try and bring in social cohesion into Kenyans, try to ensure that the legacy is a peaceful legacy.
But at the expense of a certain lot. Well, or perhaps what
yes.
it is that we saw.
I am coming to that. So that then the president is seen to be also carrying and undertaking his responsibility of the symbol of national unity. I don't think that the kind of presidency that President Uhuru Kenyatta inherited, together with Mheshimiwa William Ruto, is the same kind of image that he wanted to leave Kenyans with. And if you look at what you now call at the expense of the other, the president, in my way of both reading him and what I see as a Kenyan, has created a very uniform platter for everybody to be part and parcel of the conversation.
Okay.
Now, of course, BBI, from the manner in which it was crafted, had certain issues. But to remember that the president did not dwell there. Even when the courts had their say on the BBI, of course he would make some comments and say, Sikuti walikata, simuliona venye wamefanya. But he picked up and moved forward into what, therefore, I always say should have happened many years ago, which is to ensure that Kenyans can be able to feel the president through his projects, some of his legacy projects, his big four agenda issues, which really today form the core of the conversations in many of these political alliances. People are still talking about housing.
Yeah.
Housing is part of the Vision 2030 and it is embedded in the big four agenda.
Okay.
People are talking about manufacturing, you know, the fact that you want to have one industry per county and all that. All these things are part of the big four agenda and they are also embedded into the Vision 2030. And so for me, when the president gets out there, the biggest concern should be what kind of legacy is he leaving Kenyans with? And if you look at some of his narratives as well, where he has said, I am not interested. The other day he said, I am leaving. But you see, 2 days ago he said, hakuna kwenye naenda. It is because the president is convinced that the state and the place within which the Kenyan society is still is at right now, there are certain unfinished businesses. And Linda, those unfinished businesses formed part of our first segment of this conversation.
Right.
Agenda 4 issues, so that the next incoming president should be able to pick up from what the building blocks of a successive government have been.
Okay.
Failure to do that, we will have presidents who will still want to stick to power and having probably nothing for people to remember them with. The president, Uhuru Kenyatta, is very clear about the kind of legacy that he wants to leave. And that is why, for me, I think he is still bringing in former Prime Minister Raila Odinga into the picture. And he says, even as I open these hospitals, as I hand over these title deeds, the person I am convinced will be able to follow through this particular legacy is none other than Raila Odinga.
And there could not be a problem with that. There could not be a problem with that, with him endorsing Right Honorable Raila Odinga, with him saying that I would prefer him to take up, the mantle from where I step out, so that he would continue with what it is that we have instigated. But as well, these blatant exchanges with his deputy, just how healthy or unhealthy are they for us as a people? And I mean, remember, whether it's the deputy president who's going to get it, because at the end of the day, this is with the people and not him as President Uhuru Kenyatta. He would perhaps be that figure or father figure where the next president would be going back to ask for advice, to ask for direction for the country. And perhaps Dr. Matsanga would expect for him to represent us even in bigger platforms, the African Union, the international scene. With this kind of blatant exchanges that we witness, really, does he uphold what the Constitution speaks of?
Yes. First of all, I would like to do a disclaimer. I'm the one writing the legacy trend.
Okay.
Therefore, so that Dennis does not get me wrong. I'm writing 2 books. And I've been one of those researching for the last 10 years of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Every home has children and a father. Even Jesus had 12 disciples. Believe me or not, my brother is an ordained priest, reverend of the church, of my church. Jesus knew who was a good one and a bad one. Didn't he tell you at the last time, as amongst you, there is someone going to hammer me down tomorrow? Let's have the last supper. Uhuru is not different. Uhuru is a showman. He has seen among us here the lenses. And Dennis talks about a family. Who started the problem in the family? If the family, one person is quarreling, do you now go and do what you are supposed and say, let me leave it to go that way? The president didn't do anything wrong. He has been very good. In fact, deep down. And I want to tell you people here, Dennis knows, he has worked with President Uhuru Kenyatta. He's a very good man, very patient man. Very patient. Honestly speaking, standards of Africa. Dennis Nthumbi, please, Dennis, my son, you have seen dictators in Africa here. Those who even come to your door or to the place where you have gone to exile. In the exile, amongst the Bazungu, and tell you, you can make noise here. In front of 20,000 Bazungu listening on TV. That if you come home, we shall liquidate you. There are dictators in this country, in this world, in this Africa. Uhuru is not. The type of things that happened in the 10 years when Uhuru and Ruto were together, I think let's give Uhuru the credit.
What are these things that
there are many
in terms of development?
I don't want to preempt my book.
Okay. Oh, this is development, the legacy. Yeah, you need to understand that reports are out here. Dr. Matsanga, yes. Reports are out as to the performance of the Jubilee government.
Yes.
First of all, on the question of human rights, they say it's scored below. On the question of developments across, they say it's been an average performance. And
yes.
Therefore, when you speak of
average performance, when you are having the disturbances from your son in the house.
Okay.
He's going, no, wait.
Make it very brief. Make it very brief, doctor.
Yes, I'm being
we all
brief.
Get to other matters.
You have this, you are talking about presidency.
Yes.
And the Dennis is talking about presidency. Please, don't go and select good things and leave these bad things to us.
Okay.
Dennis, you as a reverend of church, who teaches us how good souls can reach heaven. Please tell us the truth, that there were good things that Uhuru Kenyatta has done in this country, and there are bad things that have been also not good in the eyes of the people.
Yeah.
But when you come and say the president should not come out and say, according to the 12 disciples, there is one that I see can carry. There is one who will say, I don't know you. Peter, there is one who will say, let's go and check the body. There is one who will sell you. Now here, it is up to Dennis to tell me which one did the President Uhuru Kenyatta choose.
Just which one, Dennis? And I mean...
He's a church leader, and I'm going to take his word. Because if I say, you already know where I live, okay. where my friendship is. And Dennis knows.
We also know where the friendship of Dennis is.
My friendship lies with His Excellency, President Uhuru Kenyatta.
All right, these allegations have been there. It appears that they won't go away from us. That's a reality.
Sorry?
And these allegations of the fact that the deputy president perhaps abandoned the president at the time of need, at the time that they would have, performed better for the people of Kenya. And I mean, that's the reason why today we see this kind of exchanges that we have witnessed between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy. We ask, is it at a point where we cannot, get this together? And I mean, we've seen reverends getting into this. We've seen the clergy getting into this conversation. They say, gentlemen, can you just sit down and quell this? And while we might look at it lazily, really it is costing us some aspect of peace.
I think disagreements are everywhere, even between a husband and a wife at home. And I think the maturity of the one who leads the home is what carries the day. And I think the president has mismanaged that relationship. And I think his crucifix is his personal interests. And I think he has really, really tried and struggled to balance those personal interests. I think in the first term, they were not perhaps that awake as the second term. And the second time, we see a different Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, Uhuru Kenyatta, who is confined to personal, past, present, and future interest. I think even him, he was struggling to sort of define himself. Because he was probably over-reliant in the family wealth, and he wanted to define himself as his own man. That's why these gentlemen are talking about a legacy. And given the fact that the presidency within the country veers away from a monarchy system, so if you want to make yourself personal, then you have 5 years, and then perhaps you have another 5 years. And those 5 years, the politics in there are so much, then you might never go away or move away with that personal legacy. And so who are you going to be after retirement? Are you going to be a Kibaki who just rests, but he was an old man? at your young age, what are you going to do after that? And I think that's where he struggles. But to be very honest, as a Kenyan, and rightfully so, somebody who has experienced bad rulership from the days of Moi coming all the way, there are various typologies when we talk about dictatorship. And my Daktari said something, I want to expand this. I think Kenyatta's rulership will be defined as a type of soft dictatorship. And one of the things that we see a small cabal of people who brought about very complicated rules thereabout. And I think his second time he has ruled with an iron fist. And that's the reason why you see the civil society coming about and saying that we feel that freedoms were suspended. There was extrajudicial killings. When you look at the cost of living, there are issues that haven't been addressed at the end of the day. For example, let me give you just a small example in terms of cost of living, especially foods. The cooking oil production locally were killed by a set of very complicated policies. And then some people were given the rights to import cooking oil. Today, as a nation, we buy oil by the dollar. And we spend 90 billion shillings buying your cooking oil. The cooking oil you have in your house, you buy by the dollar. And we can produce locally at the end of the day. We have everything, we have all the raw materials. But also the farmer is unable to buy the raw materials because they're exponentially expensive. You understand? When you look at the concept of agriculture and agriculture, agriculture is where I buy the equipment, agriculture is where perhaps I buy the seeds and all fertilizers. It's almost impossible. So we are unable to buy and produce locally so that we can then buy our foods by the shilling. You understand? And now, when you look at the concept, the aspect of rice and wheat and all that, we are spending 25 billion shillings importing these things. You understand? So my ugali in the house is important. My sukuma wiki that I boil is international, is by the dollar. And that's where the complications are. So the thing is this, allow me to finish. There are 5 types of dictatorship. Moi espoused 2, military type and single party dictatorship. Kenyatta is reflecting 3. Personalist dictator, monarchy, and a hybrid dictatorship. But I honestly think that Uhuru Kenyatta has really struggled to define himself. And he has mismanaged his relationship with William Ruto. And I think he had a lot to benefit from William.
Is it?
I don't condemn him in terms of his personal choice, in terms of picking up Raila.
Yeah.
But you cannot mainstream Raila as a successor. The issue, you can only say that if you're struggling with being a monarchy. You cannot talk about succession in Kenya any longer. Because we are not a monarchy. The presidency is not an entitlement, it's not private wealth. You understand? And I'm saying this realizing that any other president in Kenya may come and imagine himself as a monarchy. This has nothing to do with Uhuru. What we want is to advance, and finishing the next 30 seconds, is to advance the concept of democracy. The concept of democracy says you transition. Come here, stay for 5 years. We have given you a shared contract, a social contract. That social contract, you manage our wealth, don't repurpose it. We give you state because the absence of state, the absence of state is war.
Dennis, let's allow the gentleman to come.
I think it's very important for us to make sure that progressive democracy takes effect in Kenya. What we call essentially constitutionalism is important.
And you think that is not...
If Dennis was to be a guest lecturer in one of the classes that I teach today, I would have organized for a makeup class to say what he is saying.
That's why Jacoy have lectured in his classes. Masters of Law.
Yeah, USIU.
Yeah, and he's not coming for the interview, he told me, from New York.
Well, let's wait and see.
Yeah, no, he has called me.
His mind.
I have to tell the nation. He told me that he's not...
He was supposed to have an interview.
No, the presidential is in New York. He doesn't want it.
Let's wait and see.
Having said that...
He's my son, by the way.
It's all right, Dr. Matsanga. We'll come to that on the 26th, and we're looking forward to see what happens then. But then, yes, that will be a disadvantage to him because he needs to speak to his people.
You cannot read what is called the presidency from a single tone. The presidency is described and defined by both the office of the president and the office of the deputy president.
It's one office, by the way.
And but that's what I'm saying. It's called the presidency.
You cannot define it.
Yeah, you can't say the presidency is a president and then you leave out. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. How come it is so easy for some of us to look at the successes of President Uhuru Kenyatta from one single presidency where we involve the deputy office of the deputy president when there are successes? And when we want to take away these successes, we forget that this thing we are calling presidency is one.
Okay.
Remember that some of the examples that Dennis is giving have not been propagated within the second term of President Uhuru Kenyatta. For example, the cost of unga, the cost of flour, the cost of oil. From 2013, and Linda, our constitution goes forward and gives you power, particularly of the president, on this left hand, and takes it from the same pot using the right hand because of what the constitution has put in place called checks and balances. So that even the president, insofar as, and I disagree with Dennis, I don't know what the president's self-interest mechanisms and the struggles he has are, because I think Kenyans have much more bigger struggles. If you look at the examples of the cost of living, and when parliament was parliament, the Jubilee administration, who was the leader of majority? Who was the deputy majority leader? Who was the majority whip when all these things were happening? This is pure 2013 government. It's not post-2017. Yeah? Who were sitting at the positions where you could tell the president, excuse me, sir, you cannot sign this document. Even some of the issues with the civil society. Largely ICC was 2013. It was both President Uhuru Kenyatta, Deputy President William Ruto. That was one presidency. In fact, they used to put on the same color of socks, ties, shoes, I don't know what else. That is when the aspects of civil society and government discord was at its apex. 2016, when we had the Security Amendments Act, they were still putting on the same shirts. It was not even after the elections. We still had the 2013 government. When Kenyans were demonstrating out here over Unga revolution, it was 2014, 2015, not post-2017, not post the handshake. So that we are careful not to confuse Kenyans that when things are working for Uhuru Kenyatta, then William Ruto is present. And when they are not working, then William Ruto is not present. Checks and balances become an important aspect of democracy, Linda. And that therefore is presented both by the opposition within a government, and even governments through the executive also check itself through what is called the three arms of government. For what the executive has been excess insofar as its aspiration, Parliament comes to the fore and says, this is not happening, we're not passing this law. In fact, on a number of occasions, the president even sent back a moratorium and said, I did not sign this law because of 1, 2, 3, 4. When Parliament was making the laws around the debt burden and increasing the debt ceiling, it was not post-2017. These are conversations that has been going on since 2014. Yeah, Linda?
Yeah.
So that then we look at what are these successes when President Uhuru Kenyatta is standing as an individual, and when are these gaps when they are standing both as president and his deputy? Because the constitution says you vote for them as one ballot.
Okay.
Last but not least is also to look at media issues, civil society relationships. All these are stories of first term of Uhuru Kenyatta and Mheshimiwa William Ruto. And that is why I said earlier on that the president was able to look at where do I want to vest my energy. Is it in fighting with my deputy, or is it in delivering a legacy that is sustainable for the people of Kenya?
Okay.
And that is why I told the president thought about it so late, because he spent a lot of time trying to create peace. Advisor. What happened? Create peace. And at the expense of what Kenyans expected. I don't advise the president. Yes. I know that they listen. Right. In fact, on a number of occasions, I have been called to substantiate some of the things I say here, and I have not failed to do so. Yeah. So I'm sure that his men and women are listening. That is why, without any fear or favor,
I'll say what I think as a Kenyan. Would make me wake up that
all right,
early
Dr. Matsanga,
morning.
let's not delve much into that. We want to talk about IEBC.
But let me come in. Let me come in and teach my brother Dennis.
In less than a minute.
Yes, they have been talking for
Dr.
3 minutes.
Matsanga, we've already had your submissions on
Let me come in and teach my brother Dennis some divinity. The parable of the 3 servants. Can you read Luke chapter 17?
Is he the one to teach you that?
No, I want to.
Okay.
Because necessity has no law.
Okay, proceed.
If it is necessary to go in a pit latrine on Sunday to pick your child, like Dennis, you pick him and bring him up. You don't wait for the Sabbath to be over. Of course. He will be dead. Luke chapter 17, verse 7 to 10. Go and read it. The 3 servants. Go to Mark, the sowing of the master's seed. Uhuru Kenyatta was a father, a servant. A master left some money with servants. I think the story was very interesting. The other one came and said, but I used this money for stuff. Another one said, but sir, I kept this thing down here. Dennis knows these stories when he's preaching to us. And he's not going to come here and say, become a political animal. Pastor. We want him to be a real pastor. Let him not be like another guy who is a deacon from Machakos called from Kisumu, who is always shouting on TV.
Dennis has been categorical that aside from being a pastor,
he has been a very good pastor. He has been a very good pastor.
Yeah, and I think that is misplaced in your defense.
Please, he has been a very good pastor.
In your defense.
He has been
that
okay, let me come to a conclusion.
Yes,
he has been a very good pastor. But he is forgetting that in a family, even when you are going to die in ICU, you have one child that you know this child will look after my home.
Is that the case?
Yes.
Okay.
Every parent
knows this one.
No, listen, I am 67 years old. Where I am here, I have a child whom I know will look after my property when I'm gone. Will he take my legacy? There is nothing wrong that Uhuru Kenyatta has done to look at this whole place and say the other one could be very good. He's a rumble. His Excellency, Deputy President, William Ruto, is a good motor machine, political motor machine. He talks. In fact, that's why some of us in Jubilee liked him. Because he knows his politics. But he might not be trusted.
Can we leave this one at that? Okay,
he
can
might
we leave
not
this
be
one at that?
trusted to
I
be
mean, we have to
them.
speak IEBC, Dr. Matsanga, before we have to speak IEBC before we come up.
Give my brother.
Allow me
pray for him. I've carried the small Bible in my
30
car.
seconds rejoinder.
Yes.
I hope you can manage that.
The story of the talent or parables that Dr. is talking about is, at this point, it's off context.
Okay.
But the truth is that, okay. My brother has alluded to the fact that the presidency is one.
Yeah.
When you look at the Trinity, it doesn't mean that the Son is junior to the Father.
That's true.
And it doesn't mean that the Holy Spirit is junior. You understand? And you have they met and decided what to do. And then the Bible is very articulate that the Son is the one who preceded creation, was a worker. You know, I don't want to teach Bible here, but I can. And we even see that today is a dispensation of the Holy Spirit. And the Father is not jealous. It's one personality. It's not 3 people. It's one personality. But we see Uhuru Kenyatta sitting as a father who is jealous of what the Son is doing.
Okay.
You understand, at the end of the day. But my brother here alluded to the fact of the checks and balances. But today in this country, we don't have checks and balances.
Post-2017.
We have a system that collapsed the opposition. Parliament has never defeated a motion from State House at the end of the day. The system that is currently there, which has been adjudicated by the executive, is what we call a check and a balance, not checks and balances. You understand?
Yeah.
It is a check and a balance.
Yes. Are you talking?
But you know, this is what I'm saying. Yes, this is what I'm saying.
As we sum it up, yeah.
And please, this nation is beyond Azimio. and it is also beyond Kenya Kwanza.
Yeah.
When we are talking about the truth is universal.
Well said.
And we want the progression of democracy in this country, and we want leaders who are God-fearing. The truth of the fact is that the bottom-up economic model is important.
Again.
When you're talking about the fact that you want to pump 500 billion into the poor majority, if you don't do that, Daktari knows here that we are likely to have a civil war that is induced by food scarcity, which is something that you cannot enforce.
We shelve that one for
as a security professional, let me tell you something.
Yes.
If he would talk as a security profession today,
Deep down
he
he
would
knows
endorse
that.
the bottom-up economic
Is
model.
it? Okay, well, Dr. Masanga, Dr. Masanga,
You understand? I love the truth.
Give me 30 seconds.
The problem is when you
gave him 30
talk
seconds, he gave him 5.
when you talk as a counsel to the president.
Yes.
You
have labeled me.
No.
You agreed to it.
I'm not saying that.
Dr.
What I'm saying, if Daktari, and I know him to discuss a critical risk issue across the continent, Daktari will tell you that pumping money at the bottom is a sure rescue plan. Ask him outside, you understand?
We've just had a conversation on that.
Let me agree
But
here.
that conversation is over. Let us go and talk about IEBC, which is a critical issue.
Okay, Linda, let me agree here. Their bottom up is the one that bottomed up Sri Lanka.
No.
So they say.
No, and look,
true. That is
why I disagree with bottom up. Why I disagree with bottom up.
That is inaccurate.
Can I tell you why I disagree? Look at
Sri Lanka is a monarchy by 3 individuals.
My son.
The 3 brothers
families
do not respect anything called bottom up.
Okay, Dennis, look at why I disagree with your bottom up. Let me remove the
Dr.
glasses.
Masanga, you know we cannot get into the
I disagree.
We'll have this conversation
because
over coffee.
They just copied what we call parish model.
No.
What if they copied and it works?
Do you know where the parish?
What if they copied and it works?
The parish model in my country.
It is not copied, but in the event that they did and it works.
He's not agreeing.
No.
The yellow parish model in Uganda
Let's do assignment on that. We will focus.
If we go through that direction, my economist
Kevin Osido will do an assignment on that and perhaps get back and address the same. Balance it, Kevin. Balance as we get to IEBC. Let's go to IEBC.
Let's go to IEBC.
I think
you are not going
but
to
I know
defeat me.
I know in Daktari's risk assessment, he would write their mitigation, bottom-up economic model.
Linda, as we head to...
Mitigation is the welfare state of 6,000.
As we go to IEBC...
It gives people money.
Fair enough.
As we go to IEBC, Linda, it is important for us to note that Kenya has one of the best models called bottom-up in the form of devolution. I will repeat, 25 days to the election, the government will not carry money in goonie bags and sacks and distribute. There is a mechanism called the budgeting process that at the county level engages in what is called the county integrated development planning process. It goes into the annual development plans, and within that process there is a supplementary budgeting process. In all these conversations called the bottom up, if the citizens do not take their aspirations and their prayers through the CIDP, it is all talk shop.
All right.
Devolution is the best bottom-up process model, which has been going on for the last 9 years.
And we hope that it...
Which was invented by Azimio leader. Azimio leader is the one who brought devolution.
We have to get to the IEBC. And a couple of matters.
IEBC. Don't agree with him.
Because
it's my opinion. It's an opinion, but it is not fully the truth.
You already said
that's why
it's not fully the truth.
We will get to our
books.
Get into that assignment. Perhaps come back some other time.
Linda, bring us back again.
Yes.
We break it down on the bottom up and the parish model of the yellow color from Uganda that has been brought here in Kenya.
But the IEBC says, Dr. Matsanga, the IEBC says it is all set to deliver an election to Kenyans. And this is during this press moment. That is the IEBC 2 chiefs. That is the chairperson Wafula Chebukati, as well as Marjan, who's the CEO, and they defended the electoral body, saying that, you know, above everything, they are on course to deliver a free and fair process. But then again, at pains to make some explanations as to the different matters, and we'll be getting to those matters. But then again, confident about the IEBC, and I think I've asked you this question before, but from yesterday's analysis, from yesterday's conversation with the press, do we get to that level of confidence that yes, we are on course?
I think I am confident that the IEBC will deliver a credible election. And one of the things that we need to worry much about is not the IEBC, it's the electorate, you know. The state at which the electorate are, the poverty levels, the cost of living, the segmented political environments that is bended on one side. And I saw even, you know, I don't want to get too much into politics, but I am confident that Chebukati and his team will deliver a credible election. And I think essentially one of the things that we have seen is that IEBC has been on course in terms of defining its independence, and that's, I think, is one of the most critical aspects. Not many democracies in the world, even the, you know, electoral commissions, even within the US, are run by the state. But in this country and a few other democracies, we have, you know, electoral bodies that are truly independent, that cannot be manipulated by the law. I think one of the most unfortunate things is that there are things that we need to cap. I think there's just a need for a review from Parliament to make sure that we bring in constitutional timelines that do not necessarily injure the planning of IEBC. For example, we still have issues in court. You know, issues that are deciding critical things that could hurt the progression of the elections. The elections are set in stone. They cannot be reviewed, therefore. You understand? But we have matters in court that, you know, would affect the printing of ballots and issues of register this, register that, you know, and the key decisions that the court is making. And you know, our Chief Justice directed the court that, because she's not able to direct the outcome, but I believe that she's able to advise the court on matters of time frame. She said, you know, just end these matters. But you see, you can't lock out a justice. You can't say that at this particular time, don't present an issue, whatever it is, because justice is sovereign. I can go towards the last date and petition a matter. But I think we need to review that so that we don't disturb too much in terms of the planning. Right. However, I realized that these elections are 70% technical, because technology in this election defines the registration aspect, it defines the verification and the identification, and then it defines the transmission. And those ones are constitutional thresholds. In fact, I think if you look at the 14 decisions thereabout that came from the last ruling in 2017, many of them touched on the technological aspect. And even in terms of contestations, I don't think we have, and the audit and whatever it is. So I think Parliament will need to sit and see how the country develop itself towards a technological competence. I had Marjan yesterday say that they have spent 1 billion shillings buying sat-navs. And I was like, my goodness, it's exponentially expensive. But transmission is by law. If you fail that, if you scan the 34A and the KEMS kit attempts thrice and then it doesn't send, and then when the PO hands that over to the arrow, and the arrow starts transporting to the control styling center, and 30 meters it picks up network and sends, that is already a violation. So I think there's need for us, and it's subject to consultation. So I think one of the things we need to do, and I listened to the petitions in 2017, and I discovered that one of the places that we need to enhance competency is within the technological aspect. Unfortunately, we have a very, very expensive election. And part of that is because Kevin Osido does not trust me Sanga does not trust
No,
me.
me, I trust
We don't trust each other.
I trust
Yet
you.
when we live here,
And that
when
moment
we
of
live
trust,
here, we're going to
gentlemen,
share
let's
the
take a
same
short break on that
mandate.
moment of trust, and then we come back to that after this break. After this break.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates, Baraza la Siasa,
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
informative health discussions, business, farming, Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
Waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The next set of millionaires are farmers. As we know, agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
Hapa, the reason why nilieka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the field.
The greenhouse helps us control the temperature because the temperature needs to be between 28 to 32 degrees.
Walk this journey with us every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. It's no secret, construction ain't cheap. But how do we make it affordable? Different individuals are finding ways of cutting down cost by use of pre-stressed slabs other than reinforced concrete, recycling plastics to make pavers.
The brick is stronger, it's cheaper, and it's lighter.
And recycling wastewater in your household.
What happens to my waste from the washroom, the solid waste, all that can break down.
All right, gentlemen, we have very little time left, and therefore we have to make sure that we capitalize, but at the same time balance the time proper, so we're not left without addressing some of these matters. And so Dr. Matsanga is here with us this morning, the Chair Pan-African Forum, as well as governance experts Kevin Osido and Dennis Nthumbi, on the question of the IEBC. And I know we might not go into all the matters that they tried to address yesterday, the allegations of Chebukati having connections with Senator of Bungoma, Moses Wetangula. Of course, the question of interference, they say they are independent, and such is the case, and numerous other cases that played out in 2017, and these ghosts that follow them to 2022. Dr. Matsanga.
Thank you very much. There's very little time to discuss this matter, but I want to make my points very clear. Point number one, I want to refer Dennis to Cargo Manifest. I want you to go to the airport. He's a security officer. You have a right to enter and ask, and look at my eyes, ask for the cargo manifest that brought the ballots. Cargo manifest. You are if you look at the cargo manifest, you will not come back to any television and tell Kenyans that there is everything is all right. Start from there. And I want to tell investigative journalists to do that, not to shout around in this country. Yesterday's saga, my God, if that 6 journalists can disorganize the whole IEBC, what about serious lawyers? There were so many gaps. There were so many gaps. I am one of the few people, and I want to remain a lone ranger. And I want Kenyans to remember my voice. I am Paul, a Gentile, speaking to the Jews. I want you to remember the people of Philippa. If I were a Kenyan, I would not have allowed Mr. Wafula Chebukati ever to touch my ballot.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it that
Yesterday
bad?
you saw on the floor this other gentleman called Marjani, or what is his name?
The CEO, yes, Marjani.
The CEO. Isn't it? He doesn't even know about...
Let's give it to them.
No, he doesn't know about the satellite. You see what Dennis has brought, a satellite. I have a satellite, component. I have. I've had it for almost 12, 14 years. Since I worked for Sky News, I was given a satellite component. I can transmit from anywhere on planet Earth. The explanation about that thing is more confusing when he was being asked that, can you remove one SIM card and do the other one? What about one thing that you go to, where you got your Kim kits? Those, what are they, electronic kits? Yes, the company itself is a company which is a mafia. It's well documented all over the whole world. And the question the journalist asked, did you do due diligence?
Yeah.
He did that. They said that marijuana, is it marijuana or marjani?
Marjan.
Yeah, no, please. Sorry,
Marjan. Yes.
Hussein.
You're reading Wajakoya's manifesto.
Right.
No, but Wajikoya is my man. I removed him from Camden. You were together with him when he told me. I am the one who gave him a job in London to stabilize him from digging graves.
He's mentioned that on TV.
Yes,
right here.
From digging graves. And I would handle him.
He's dad well?
Yes, I'm his dad.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Let's proceed.
Look, marijuana,
Hussein.
Hussein kept on, doesn't even know himself what he was saying about, that we didn't do due diligence. Election is a process, in summary. Election is a process. It is not the ballot that Dennis is talking about. It's a process. And why I want Kenyans to go and read the Wajir case in the Supreme Court. You remember the governor of Wajir case. Yeah. If you read that, just prepare for another vote.
Well,
it will be a D-Day, and I'm here, and bring me back on 12th. Bring me back on 12th of August. This man,
Dr. Matsanga.
This man with 6.1 feet from the mountains of Uganda, I'm going to tell you, I told you. This election is already done.
Kevin,
it's a very bad election.
Is it that bad after all? Listening to the
prepared. There is no need of. I've observed the election in 52 countries, Linda.
Historically speaking,
yes,
Dr. Matsanga.
52 countries. This place is. This is. You see how Chebukati body language was.
Hold it right there. Dr. Matsanga, historically
like
speaking, Kevin,
a small fish
and as you also respond to the gentleman.
From Bungoma.
All right, as you respond to the gentleman, historically speaking, the election or the electoral bodies, across Africa, you'll find that even if you go to some of the research that has been done, statistics, it will show you that a majority of people, especially in the continent, do not have the confidence, in the electioneering bodies that conduct their elections. Such would be the case in the country. Historically speaking, from the previous ones that we've had, there's really not a time that we have confidently said that we are ready, that we are set and prepared. Constitution traditionally we have to go for an election. And we also know the key reasons as to why an election should be, say postponed. And in this case, we haven't gotten to such a point. Looking at the performance of Chebukati and Hussein Marjan yesterday, and generally how they've been handling this matter, are they that bad?
Linda, to be honest with you, things are not very good. And 25 days to the election, the question that asks, that begs, and we have asked this many, many times, is where have we been? Because we all agree that the election is not an event. It is a process through what is called the electoral cycle that has 6 major pillars, with very many activities happening in between. 2013, we had a Supreme Court presidential petition. Same IEBC, same chairman. 2017, we went into the same process, of course with adjustments here and there. The election was nullified. We had another Supreme Court process on October 26, 2018. Kenyans went into another election. Many questions have been raised by the presidential candidates. And I always say that the chairman committed to responding to the presidential candidates. And indeed, within a span of about 5 to 6 days, we saw the commission responding. Linda, it is quite disturbing that Kenyans are going to wake up, at least 22 million, 0.1 of them, to vote into this election. Where is the credibility of the election against all these questions that are being asked, including the inability of the electoral management body to speak in sync? And I think yesterday, if of course the chair of the commission has a right to respond to the public, but I would have asked them to prepare before they faced the cameras at Bomas yesterday, because it looked really disorganized. It looked as if the CEO and his chairman do not speak at sync. Just a day before that, we have had 2 conversations with the chair of IEBC at KICC during the launch of Kenya Daima, where I asked Mr. Chebukati that, sir, we are engaging citizens and working very hard with your commission to be able to build and boost their confidence. As Kevin Osido, having known you from 2013 to 2017, tell me one thing. Should I have trust in you as the chair of the commission? Mr. Chebukati told me, Kevin, go and tell Kenyans that I am in charge. This is a watertight process. A day before this was happening, we were at Hemingway's with the chair of IEBC on a launch of what is called the National Mediation Platform. Very early in the morning, at 7 in the morning. And the chair was there, and I asked him the same question. Sir, it is now 23 days to the election. We were with you 2 days ago. Will you still give me the same answer? And I'm looking forward to meeting with the chair before he goes to get the ballots, because they are traveling to go and assess the presidential printing and all that. And I will ask him the same question. Sir, given what you said on TV, should Kenyans still have confidence in you? So the confidence levels, Linda, are very different. Kenyans, we have more than 14,000 Kenyans who are going to face this election as candidates. Linda, 13,000 of them plus are going to lose, because we can only have 1 president out of the 4. We cannot have 4 presidents. We can only have, out of the 947 governors, only 47 governors. We can only have, out of the 12,000 plus MCAs, we can only have 1,450 of them elected. Where is the fate of those who are going to lose? And so from where I sit, it is an opportunity for IEBC to enhance its multi-stakeholder engagement. If you look at what the security framework is doing, I think it is laudable that they are getting out there, talking to citizens, and even doing transects on what are the possibilities of an event where you have unrest because of elections. How should the police engage? IEBC should be doing those transects almost on a daily basis. Unfortunately, I think that given the kind of challenges that IEBC has had, the CEO is not even 2 months old into office. Of course, we have 4 new commissioners who came in after a lengthy struggle of commissioners resigning and all this. Then, of course, we have challenges with the budget. where, of course, now Treasury has given IEBC, I believe, enough money to be able to undertake this, even up to an additional 21 billion for the rerun. These are confidence mechanisms that, in my view, IEBC is supposed to be taking advantage of. When we had our last conversation with you, there were issues around digital, analog, manual, and I told you one thing. Regardless of what we say or do, we can jump off the moon and come back to Earth. IEBC knows what it is supposed to do by law for this election.
Okay.
My only prayer is that they will also be out there engaging with citizens and trying to boost the confidence levels, because that is going to play out at two levels, Linda. One, that people can choose to sleep and say this election is cooked. Yeah. People can choose to sleep.
Wow.
So look at the apathy levels. Yeah. How do you now deal with the aspects of failed voters, spoiled votes, and then the fact that the turnout, the turnout is not even up to 46%.
Okay.
Number two is the mechanisms around the network, the KIMS kit, because IEBC has told us that more than 1,111 stations are neither marked on 3G or 4G. What are the mechanisms, Linda? Because those are supposed to help boost the confidence levels of both the candidates and even the voters. And I agree with you in finishing that elections, therefore, form a very critical measure of the growth and development of our democracy. We cannot play around with it.
We only have 15
There's one word, one word, Dennis, before you. There's one key word. When you read the manual and the electronic, notwithstanding. Have you heard the word? Let me repeat to Kenyans. The law is very notwithstanding. And the explanation given yesterday by Hussein and the explanation by Wafula.
Not convincing.
So
I think Dennis, as we close.
I'll be very careful to take the trajectory that my colleagues have taken. Well known as a security and risk expert, I know the issues, and I think we have to give it to IBC that they've tried their best, because this is an organization that doesn't work in isolation. The government of Uhuru Kenyatta has made sure that they starved IBC of finances for a very long time, until this financial year. The chairman articulated himself to that. But those of us who have worked in corporate organizations at senior level, we know that there's a difference between the chairman and the CEO. The CEO is the administrative boss. He is more coherent on administration. He's the one who is running the elections. By the way, it's not the chairman. It's the CEO who is running the elections.
But Kims, for both the chair.
No, allow me, please. Allow me.
After Ezra Chiloba, perhaps Chebukati should have learned. Okay, fair enough. No, fair enough. Okay. And I mean, time is almost out.
We know.
Give him his 1 minute. We're coming to you with your 1 minute and your 1 minute and close. Proceed.
We are not shouting.
I'm talking as a professional. The administrative office, I think it's obvious. It is the CEO. You know, surely it's the CEO who is delivering the exam.
Then why does the chairman interfere?
So the truth is, I don't think there's any interferences. I say that this election is largely electronic. And I think IBC has done their best. I wrote an article that the Star refused to publish. On the issue of smart contracts. And the questions that my friend from K24 is a friend of mine asked are the issues that I had asked on the question of Smartmatic, because Smartmatic is riddled with too many controversies, including a current issue in the United States. Donald Trump says that the reason why the elections were tampered, that Smartmatic were the ones who are delivering the electronic system, even though the mode of voting in the US is quite different to ours. Ours, a lot of the electronic is on the transmission aspect is what is critical here.
Right.
The issues around procurement were adjudicated by the courts quite effectively, and that was way in 2021. And the PPRAB, you know, the Public Procurement Administrative Review Board was instructed by the court on the printing and on KIMS kits at the end of the day. So that matter was already driven by the court essentially. I think what we need to focus ourselves, what can we improve towards the 29 days? And what are the questions that we need to keep on asking IBC, and what do we need to strengthen? Sincerely speaking, when you look at the judgment that was delivered by Supreme Court The reason why I call the judgment unfair is on a simple premise. Is because the 14 orders that were delivered by Supreme Court.
We have to, yeah.
And Justice Maraga said something. He said that the Election Commission had failed to conduct the presidential election in a manner consistent with the dictates of the Constitution. What are those? Transmissions. But IEBC does not own the network infrastructure in the country. They have tried to spend money. 1 billion shillings in terms of what they get takes 40% of their budget. You understand? You are looking at the ICT CAS.
Then why not declare? Then why not declare?
What I'm saying, what I'm saying
Yeah.
is that they don't work in isolation. They depend on infrastructure that is commercial at the end of the day.
But we depend on
I would expect a Communication Authority of Kenya.
Yes.
I'd expect CS Musheru to strengthen that network so that democracy is advanced.
If such is not the
At the end of
case,
the day.
if it is not strengthened to the core or to the expectation,
Yes.
then I think it would be fair that the gentleman would come out and say that in this
we
case,
can't manage.
we cannot do digital. We would perhaps
You see, digital is us.
All right.
We are the ones that said because of trust issues,
Let's go
you
to
cannot transmit outside the polling station. You understand? And what the KMSK does mainly is scan via barcode and transmit. The coordinates must be within the polling station. That is not the prescription of IBC. It is not a regulation issue. This is a law issue.
Okay.
This is what Kenyans said. Because of trust, we don't want Kevin Osido to go and transmit election results in the toilet. We want him to do it in this polling station.
All right.
At the end of the day. But principally, let us constrain ourselves in terms of strengthening where the constitution needs to be strengthened. And I think of critical importance is some of the things that have been cited. But I want to say something very critical, and this is not politics. It seems like Azimio have conceded. It seems like there's a realization that...
How is that not politics?
It seems like there's a realization, that Raila...
You're getting to that. And I'll add you 10
allow
minutes
me
for that.
30 seconds
I'll add,
to finish.
Please. You have taken more than 3 minutes, Dennis.
30 seconds.
Don't we have
Raila Odinga has won on all polls consistently from 20 years ago. But he has lost every election. William Ruto has never lost an election. And that's where Azimio is jittery.
Okay.
Our candidate has always been good on polls. You understand? This one's cooked in some funny kitchens. He has never won an election, presidential election. But William Ruto is on record of not losing an election. And therefore, there's
Matsanga.
a general feeling that they have given up to winning. And therefore, they should not paint IBC black.
There is nobody.
You know,
there is no. I don't know. The time I left, Dennis was a very good man.
I'm still a very good man.
And he went to further to study divinity and the religion. Now he is a prophet who knows that Azimio has lost when the vote has not been counted. So let's give him that thanks. Let me come to the point. 3 points here. One, how did the one candidate know that his numbers were transferred? Who told him? Who works for him in the IEBC? Who told Ruto that 1 million voters had been transferred? Leave it there. Justice Mwiru is going to ask. Yes.
I can answer that.
No, don't answer me. We gave you your time.
That should be rhetoric, I would want to see.
Yes,
Yeah?
I'm just.
Dennis, let's allow them to.
Dennis, let me finish.
I'm allowing you.
Yes, because you have already said Ruto has never lost the election. Ruto has never Ruto. For you, Dennis, after here we talk outside here. Because point number 2, I feel so sad. Point number 2. Linda, this election, the manner in which it has been conducted, the process itself, you have got, after you announce the thing that he quoted, after you have given a tender, you are supposed to publish how many papers? 2. I want any Kenyan to show me where Chebukati published Leiko's company that we have awarded you the tender with this amount of money and the printing. If that paper is there, come to me. Show me in this country. It is not there. Point number 3.
I want to show him.
No, it is not there. It was not in the papers.
Well, let's wait and see.
We have so many fake papers. Maybe, and in fact, they are the owners of fake.
Well, for as long as he's able to justify that.
No, he can't show me now.
Yes.
I've told you, I've researched. I don't come here empty. Like Mr. Dennis.
Proceed.
I read the Bible, mix it from 4 a.m. up to today.
Okay, we have...
There is nowhere they did not. They did not. And I want to conclude by saying, I used to tell Oswago.
Oswago, yes, Oswago, yes.
The CEO before. He used to come to my nightclub, Dolce, dance and enjoy and drink. I used to tell him, you'll go to jail.
Oh.
And Oswago kept on saying, Matsanga, you make a lot of noise. I said, you'll go to jail. In Britain, they have started investigating Mr. Smith. They found Mr. Smith on ballot papers. So I have asked Mr. Dennis Nthumbi today, as he leaves this place, go and send me a copy of the cargo manifest of the ballot papers that came. You're a security officer, you have a badge, double badges. They will not refuse you to give you, like I have.
All right, let's allow Kevin. Let's allow Kevin as we close. Dr. Matsanga, we only have, yes.
Finally, let me tell you, I wish Kenyans, no Kenyan civilian will fight. They are not going to fight. But there are 2 contenders on this ballot. All of them, from their history, Ruto does not accept defeat. Also, on the other side, Raila Odinga is not a man you can walk over like that.
Yeah.
It's a tough election. Therefore, a badly managed election, a badly arranged election, a badly organized, those 3 words in English language, which Dennis should hear. They are different in their format. Badly managed, badly arranged, and badly prepared. They might seem to one word, but they are different.
Okay.
An election of that nature, Linda, creates a war. And he knows it.
God
Elections
forbid.
in Africa have created wars. So Chebukati and his MD yesterday
assured us.
Did not assure the Kenyans.
Yes.
They left us in more questions than answers.
No.
Thank you
Kevin
very
has
much.
to wind up.
Yes.
Kevin,
Yeah,
please.
but at least give me 30 minutes to
No,
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
30 seconds.
No, not on
After
my
he
time.
speaks.
Proceed, Kevin.
No,
Not on your time.
Proceed,
we
Kevin.
are
You only have
closing,
like 3
Dennis.
minutes.
We cannot be having you having your
3
say.
minutes.
Let me just
3
tell
minutes.
Dennis some decorum on TV interview. When you have had
As
your
your
3
time
minutes,
is ticking.
yes, I'm using part of my time. When you have been given 3 minutes, don't
You're
wait
using
for
your
your...
3 minutes.
Yes, let me do.
But also, Kevin, I will remind you that when I ask a question, we proceed to the question. We do not focus on
No, but
unnecessary
he's already
things,
disrupting. I just want to let him know that when you're
Don't spend your
on
time
national
on
TV,
your time on issues.
Mr. Dennis Nthumbi, when you're on national TV, you have already had your say.
You will
allow for other people to have their
are you
say. And
contributing?
don't rebut on what, because all of us have opinions, my friend.
Kevin.
You're wasting our time.
Your time, not our time.
Kevin.
Linda, IEBC is a constitutional commission. Unfortunately, we have very many concerns, and even the chair of the commission, the commissioners, because these people are also from families. Some of them are village mates. People talk even outside, media and all that.
Yeah.
It is important that they instill the confidence on Kenyans and the ability up to the levels and extents that they can to assure the candidates that this process is watertight, that this process is credible, that this process is going to be transparent, and that the conversations and narratives around cooked elections and who knows what about IEBC and how the election is going to run are dealt with. Because those candidates who will lose, that are 13,050 of them, will require that justice is done. Hence the existence of the court. Number 2, IEBC needs to enhance its multi-stakeholder engagement, because it requires all these partners and all stakeholders to be able to ensure that they do their work. Rising on a silo and saying we are not wanted. We love the IEBC commissioners, we love the chairman, and that's why we have the confidence that they are able to adjudicate and administer their responsibility.
Last but not least, 25 days to the election. Kenyans want a Kenya on August 9th. Even as we wait for the constitutional timeline of declaration of results after 7 days. Within this period, the political class must guarantee Kenyans of peace, love, unity, that justice will carry the day, and we don't want to be seen people fighting, hurling insults, throwing stones. And to be honest, by the way, I think the presidential candidates have really tried. That even in their name calling, some of them in their inability to share their ideas, they have ensured that their campaigns are peaceful. They committed to peace, they have signed peaceful pledges. We hope that they will be able to live according to those pledges.
Well put. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Not more than 30 seconds.
But if he's going
to proceed. Not more than 30 seconds.
If he's going to hit
he requested for it. Yes.
I hope
he's not. He's summing it up.
I hope he doesn't say as Uda will win.
One of the things, of course, that is an obvious, and I'll invite you for
Ruto
swearing in.
I invite you for.
Allow me to.
Don't be swayed with Dr. Matsanga because your 30 seconds are lapsing.
We have to instill confidence in the electoral process. IEBC conducts elections, but Kenyans oversee the elections. Why am I saying that? Because 70% of our elections, there's a strong oversight by the people. In every polling station, every candidate has election agents. Then we have observers. In one polling station, in fact, I have been a candidate on the ballot. You meet 20 collective agents and observers. And after every, vote, the counting that is done, the forms are signed and given to every agent and posted on the door of the polling station.
Those ones that we have to count because of time.
And posted on the polling station and on the ballot papers at the end of the day. So it is not possible to rig an election and a polling station. And that's the comfort that we have. You understand, at the end of the day. I am a trainer of trainers on matters of election. I have been trained. I have certificate.
But you are treating the election as an event. The election starts.
I understand that. But what I'm saying is that we have a strong safety net.
Observation.
And because the voting process itself is manual.
Election is a process.
Gentlemen,
the election itself is what. Let me tell you something. In conclusion, because
you're out of time.
Whatever. The dissenting judges said that the NASA Opposition Alliance, which had petitioned the Supreme Court, failed to prove claims that the polls had been rigged. Raila has always lost fair and square. This time round, he will also lose fair and square. I don't hate him, it's democracy.
But Ruto always uses his violence. So you want us also to tell you that
Ruto uses violence. As well as Kevin Osido.